is Hussein Freja. I'm Managing Director of Yahoo for Middle East, Africa, and Turkey.
So we saw that slide up there, and you've seen it all the time, the gap between time spent and budget spent by brands. And this is a worldwide problem, this gap. Will it ever close?
Yeah, I think it will eventually, but I think we need to step back and look at the picture from a brand perspective, and take that picture and compare it to the same picture from a user perspective. As a user who's consuming content, is it as complex to me as it looks now to the brand? I don't think so. We are consuming content seamlessly, and we're evaluating in terms of that consumption. But the picture from a brand perspective is looking complex. We have to admit to that. And that's why the money is not following. I think the technology has changed the infrastructure of how we operate as content players. Put a lot of pressure on advertisers to extend the message distribution from the traditional means into the new streams of distribution like Spotify or social networks or mobile or others, right? And I think that disrupted the way brands operate, disrupted that ecosystem that was created 50 years ago, where a brand will set objectives and create a product, an agency will create a message, a media agency will come and distribute, and the PR company will manage the image of the company. That is being disruptive now. Technology is producing a lot of data. This data is producing a lot of insights that is leading to more how we create content as media players and brands. And I think all this needs to be created again, a new ecosystem and how we operate. Once this is created, I think money will follow.
Okay, once it's created, sometime in the future.
I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there. If you take a pure advertising landscape scene now, the rise and the quick evolution of programmatic buying, right? That is one way in terms of how brands are taking advantage of insights and data produced by this content consumption, right? Number two, the scale of content. We saw a slide around the amount of content being distributed and shared now. I think that scale and the role of the user or the consumer in production of content, and high quality content, HD content, is playing a big role. And I think from a technology and platform perspective, it's getting clearer now in terms of what do we need to do as brands on mobile and tablet and PC, and how the kind of TV content is migrating those platforms. I don't think it's as complex. I mean, if you look at it from far, you say, oh my God, how are we going to crack this down? And we didn't even crack content on PC. How are we going to crack it now on mobile?
Okay, don't go to mobile yet. We're not there yet. Emmy, I want to go to you. I want to find you a microphone first. So, Emmy Gal, you are the CEO of Brainient. You guys are a video ad technology company. Yep. You're making video ads cool and interesting and interactive. Is that fair?
Yeah, so basically we make video ads suck less by making them
Wait,
interactive.
they don't suck?
Video ads. So in the audience, how many people think watching video ads in generally sucks, having to watch them? Yeah, half the. So, people don't want to watch video ads online. They want to watch the YouTube content with cats and dogs that they started watching in the first place. What we do is we try to make those video ads better because they're going to have to watch them anyway. And we make them better by making them interactive. So while you're watching an ad for a BMW, you can book a test drive, or you can find out more about the car within the video. So
to go off what we just heard, how can everyone make it easier for brands to move money online?
Well, I think the biggest problem right now is that brands don't see all types of video advertising working for them. And I think that's partly because they're treating all different devices and all different types of formats in the same way. So a brand will take a TV ad and they'll run it online and on mobile and on iPads and so on, and they'll hope that that video ad works. But they need to adapt it for the person watching it, they need to adapt it for the device in order to get some value out of that.
It's interesting because, on the one hand, you're saying it needs to be simpler, but then on the other hand, you're saying it needs to be customized. And I think that's sort of the story right there, is that the internet's so fragmented, and then it's getting even more fragmented with mobile and different devices, is how can we make sense of all this in a way that's easier
Well, I think it's understanding that different things work for different types of platforms and different devices. So I have a friend who runs marketing for a big online retailer, and he was complaining that he was running Google ads and they worked great for conversion, and then he created those same ads on Facebook and they weren't working as well. And I told him that it's kind of, putting an ad on Google is like putting a banner in front of a store, where putting an ad on Facebook is like putting a banner at a party. They both work, but for different types of things, right? When it's in front of a store, you can convert the person to buy. When it's at a party, all you can get is brand awareness, really.
Right. So our other sort of new participant is, and I'm going to kill his name, Chugati.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not going to go for the last name. You're the deputy general manager of Anadolu Agency. You're sort of a Reuters, right? I mean,
yes, it's one of the top 10 news agencies in the world, basically.
So you're licensing content. You're not worried about the monetization side.
Actually, we are very
ads.
concerned about the monetization because really, you are a business, and at the end of the day, you try to come up with commercial models that's going to be consumed by the end users.
Many of your customers are using display advertising to monetize.
Not too much. Our customers are mostly media outlets, from press media to TV stations or radio stations or web portals or websites.
But I'm sure a lot of them are seeing basically the amount of money they made in sort of, let's say it's a newspaper, in the newspaper, and then the amount of money they make when that same user goes over to the website is far less.
Yes. Actually, that's a good point. Ali has mentioned that there's a shift in the content has been leveraged, and Gary also mentioned that now from photo to video we are moving much more towards. So what we see in the news agency business, it's a big challenge. So news agencies create textual news, photos, and videos, and there's more demand on the much more interactive and colorful, entertaining content versus conservative and typical regular content. And news agencies have to adapt into this for monetization. And to achieve this, one of the things that Anadolu Agency has done, expand its reach on a global level with more than 50 offices in the world, soon to be 80 offices in 7 different languages. So create more content. And the second is expand or diverse this content through different channels. Like all the audience here is actually the consumer, business type consumer of the content that Anadolu Agency creates, in terms of creating applications, putting ads on the videos that has been leveraged or used, or using the photos in different environments, or coming up with infographics based on the contextual text that the news agencies that create.
Yeah. Gary, the other guy. I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. You're on.
Yeah, we're on. Just since we didn't present, so I'm entitled to more time, maybe. I want to disagree here on the concept.
You can always interrupt to disagree. We love disagreement.
For customization to grow the market. I agree we need to customize by platform. That happens in TV already. The way Pepsi communicates in X Factor is different from the way they communicate in many other channels. So they customize for that. But I think, back to your question, what do we need to grow digital advertising? Is kill it. We need to kill the concept of digital advertising. I've been in the industry 12 years now.
I think you meant kill it, like do it really well.
I mean, we don't, no, kill it, just kill the concept that we need, this is standalone, that we need to deal with it separately and monitor the trend. You saw the slide of it was photo, then video, then sound, then whatever. If advertisers would spend their time just monitoring the trend and customizing by trend, that's the most least scalable model in the history of advertising. I think the principles of communication and marketing and advertising didn't change much. And what's changing is technology is enabling users and advertisers. That's producing data and insights. And then you need, as an advertiser, to create a scalable model to communicate. You cannot go and customize for every platform. It's not going to work, and that's why we're lagging.
You can use the data to do that automatically, right? As in, if you have an ad, the ad can be dynamically personalized based on the device or on the size of the screen. because the content you
I
can,
totally agree.
you can package on a big screen is not the same content you can package on a small screen. So then it makes sense to use that insight in order to customize the ad. Interesting.
Yeah, Gary, Spotify, I want to go to you. We hear a lot of talk about native formats. Now, you guys have audio ads, which I guess are native to an audio experience. You mentioned, we saw a customized program you did with Bacardi. So how do you guys think about, what the native ad is for Spotify?
Sure. So the way we look at native, there's really, in our mind, there's a bunch of dichotomies kind of nested in each other, which is really, really hard to explain. But within even native, we see two different kinds of native. One is just the ability for a brand to be able to seed their information, their content, in the same stream of consumption as all the other content in the world, right? So within Spotify, when we talk about native ads, we're talking about somebody listening to music and then hearing a brand message, or engaging by creating a playlist, and that playlist happens to have a brand associated. But at the same time, we see a different world that we're not quite there yet, where brands themselves are the ones that are actually creating the content, right? To the custom question that we're talking about is that there is a very, very custom nature to it, where the brands realize that they have the money, that they have the influence, that they're able to actually help people discover what is great new music in our context. And so those are two, in our mind, very different worlds for native, and everyone is struggling right now to figure out, are those the same things? When we identify and we say we work on native advertising, is it going to be an umbrella term that describes both of those things in the future? And I don't know. I think that eventually we're going to find a way to programmatically buy and sell what is more scalable, which is just content within the stream, right? Branded content within the stream of consumption. And we're always going to have this custom view, just like Hussein said, that is going to be brands who really want to invest in creating something that's completely new, completely unique.
Right, Gary Wolf, that sounds like, maybe your new customers are going to be brands.
I mean, potentially. I mean, the one caveat I would have with that, and we're not, our doors aren't closed to that at all. But you look at the way that some of those programs come about and how people want their brand messaging included. You take a market like the UK, I can't think of a single brand-funded show that's being recommissioned. So often what you find is what the brand wants isn't necessarily the match with what the audience or indeed what the channel wants. So I think it's an interesting path. It's a path we probably haven't gone far enough down yet to truly make work, but it hasn't worked yet.
Do you think it's one of those things, it's talked about a lot, brands as publishers, it's all about content and stuff like this, but it's really difficult to create content that anyone wants to consume, which you know. It's doubly difficult, it would seem, to create content that anyone wants to consume and conveys a brand message.
So,
I mean, from a perspective of curation, the whole point that any of our businesses exist is that if you left it to brands, we wouldn't have anything like the content we have. I mean, the worst thing we could ever do is create a program that is conceived by and only for a brand. The issue for us is people come and want to discover new music, and I'm sure it's the same for Gary, because they have some level of curation. Yes, there's a level of technology, but there's also a level of curation that they understand. The same reason people go to a newspaper or a news service is they want somebody to help them work through the massive information there is.
So you don't think a brand could play that role?
I think a brand can certainly help it, and they certainly, as it were, grease the wheels by helping you fund it and helping you create lots of great content. But the point is that there needs to be a separation between what the brand wants to say and what the user is going to receive. And the users are very smart. They can see immediately if this is just a vehicle for promotion of a brand.
Although music videos were originally just a promotional vehicle.
Yeah, and these days there's technology that says that the car driving behind Miley Cyrus on a wrecking ball could be a BMW or a Mini or whatever, whoever wants to pay for it. Now, she won't let that happen, but the technology is there to enable that.
So I think it's a bit of a sort of myth that native content is difficult to create. One of our clients at Brainian is ASOS, which is ASOS.com, which is a big sort of online fashion retailer. And they came to us at one point and they said, we're creating this content, we want to make it interactive, so while the models are walking on this in the video, we want to be able to click on them, find out more, and buy it for people to potentially buy the products. And we started doing this with them, and then at one point they invited us to see how they're creating the videos. And they literally had a corner in their office with a $300 camera, and some of their employees walking in the video wearing ASOS clothing, it probably costs them like $50 a video to create it, and they get engagement rates over 50%. So over half the people watching those videos click on the products to find out more because the content is really relevant, and I think that's ultimately the
It's
most
context,
important
isn't it? It's context. I mean, there's very few consumer brands of that type now that don't have some sort of TV offering. But am I going to go home and watch that and sit back and watch it as part of a linear TV schedule? No, I'm not. But if I wanted to watch stuff about fashion, then I might go to ASOS and I might click on something.
Yeah. Ali, I want to...
to think about the content in which you have, the context in which you have that content. Not every content is suitable for advertising. And if you think about how you used to collect your music, you used to collect it on CDs or on LP records. Well, there wasn't an ad in between each song on your CD, was there? And so I think that, and I'll take a little bit of exception to Spotify in that it may not be the best environment for an advertiser brand to interject themselves into how someone collects their music or keeps their music collection. Whereas in the case of radio, it's something that's been part of the radio fabric for years. People accept that there's going to be a radio ad break at some point in time. And it's a little bit more native, actually, in the radio stream than it would be in the way you collect your music. So,
Gary, those are fighting words.
I like it. I like the different opinions. Listen, I think that when we look at how users use products like ours, at the end of the day, I think every user understands that there is a give and take, that they're getting music that other people are spending time and energy producing, that historically they've had to pay an arm and a leg for to collect, to be able to get access to all of that music. And now it's effectively for free. And that there's something that they have to give up, and that's the 3 minutes of ad time every 60 minutes of music listening that happens on our platform. And most of the time when we talk to a consumer, a user, certainly they will tell us, listen, ads are annoying. As a user, and even though the ad product is something I work on, I can tell you that sometimes I get annoyed by audio ads. But at the same time, they understand why the audio ads are there. There are very, very few users who actually come out and straight up say, I don't understand why Spotify is completely free and completely ad-free, right? Because I think that concept just, they know where the music's coming from. And so our goal, and we actually internally, it's really interesting, our ad product, we consider a user experience product, which not a lot of publishers do. Right? And so our goal is not to maximize inventory, not to maximize revenue, but to maximize or optimize the user experience. So we're always thinking, if we do have to intrude, how can we not be annoying, but be participatory in your content consumption in a way that actually brings value to you somehow? And that's the direction that we hope to end up.
I was saying to you earlier, I had this theory that Spotify has this algorithm that sets like how annoying the ads can be before you agree to pay. But you're saying that's not actually true.
We have a human algorithm that if we hear a bad ad, we will call the sales rep or the ad trafficker who did it and say, hey, can we be more careful next time? We are very, very, we care a lot about the user experience, even on the ad side. We don't want to turn up the annoyance of ads at all.
Okay, so final big topic, and then unfortunately we're over time. Mobile. I feel like, advertisers and content creators have not figured out the desktop yet, and now all of a sudden mobile, and the problem could be even worse. You guys are seeing a lot of traffic in mobile, and you seem to be doing okay in monetization?
Yeah, we're doing okay in monetization, but there are still many agencies who treat mobile as a separate platform, and when you go and speak to a client about doing a big, let's say a big takeover on Vivo, they say, oh, well, if you want to talk about mobile, you've got to go and talk to somebody else. Which is crazy. Mobile monetization certainly has been a challenge, I think, for everybody, but we're certainly seeing some really positive signs that clients now want to engage. And to the point earlier, clearly a mobile phone is a very different experience when you're watching music to a big screen. So from an advertiser perspective, to think about the environment and the device that you're being watched on. But I think video ads, to the point earlier, everybody gets that if they're not going to pay money, they've got to pay in their time, and their time is by ads. And I think commercial TV and commercial radio have been running long enough for people to understand that's what businesses like Spotify and Vivo survive on, is the base, the fact that there is there is time needed to watch advertising.
So if you were to rank the challenges, would it be ad formats, targeting, or sort of organization on the buying side?
I think it's always two-way, but from our perspective, I don't think ad formats are the issue at all. I think the issue is about helping advertisers feel comfortable about being on new platforms, on new devices, and ultimately, money does follow eyeballs, but there is always a lag, and I don't think that the lag that we're experiencing is anything necessarily to worry about. Certainly, we're seeing very major increases almost on a month-by-month basis to the fact that advertisers feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. Hussein, Yahoo's obviously a very big mobile publisher. Search is an interesting case because it's true native experience. You search for something, you get a search result back. Has mobile found that native ad experience?
I think native will play a very important role in how we're gonna figure out the whole concept of monetization on mobile. I really believe in that, and on native, I don't think native advertising is new, and you mentioned it, like search advertising is a native. You have an ad that's relevant to whatever the search results are, and then you click based on that. Social, when you see that in the news feed, you see the ads, it's native, but it can be more relevant into that. And I think the next step is how advertisers can customize the content they're creating within that mobile experience. But back to the question on mobile, I think there are two things here, is media and mobile players has to focus more on creating the mobile experience right. We're getting there. And once you have the scale of users and engagement on mobile, in parallel, advertising will be built up. But I think the challenge with mobile now is the same challenge we faced with PC. Major advertisers wanted to adapt offline creative and messaging and squeeze it in that TVC. It worked, and then we said that's fine. We kept optimizing. And we want to do the same thing now, taking the PC and offline creative formats and want to now squeeze it in that smaller screen, and that's not working. I think I want to go back to what I said in the beginning. It's just go back to basics and say the principles are the same, right? Create a strong message with a strong call to action, and then define what is the mobile role in the user funnel wants to go to purchase. And then this will tell you how you can leverage mobile. For a car brand, it might be a website that's very simple to put a test drive application. For P&G, it can be a great piece of content. For J&J, it can be an application. There's no one recipe that I can tell you that's what you need to do, and then you can figure it out.
Okay.
I think there are brands who figured mobile out.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap it up. Otherwise, Webit's going to go into the evening. So I want to thank you all for this session. Really appreciate it.